this video, we'll see everything about our favorite Melusine, called Sigewinne. We'll go through things such as her constellations, builds, weapons, teams, talents, passives, and more. So after watching this video, you'll be a certified Sigewinne main. Before going to her kit, if you were planning to buy and save Primo Gems for someone like Sigewinne or Emilie, then you can save tons of money on Lootbar. Lootbar offers Primo Gems for much cheaper than the in-game shop, and is trusted by lots of players worldwide with tons of good reviews. All you have to do is click the link in description. It'll open the website, and then choose your pack, enter your server and UID, and you're done. Your items arrive in less than a minute. Also, newcomers get a 5% discount, so use the link and don't miss out. Now starting with her kit, we'll skip her normal attacks since they don't provide much value. Moving to her charged attacks, there's something special about it. So after you hold down her arrow and fully charge it, Sigewinne will periodically fire slow-moving mini bubbles toward the target, dealing hydro damage. As for the damage, it is very low, so don't go around expecting to one-shot bosses with this.
Holy shit!
Now looking at her skill, it will have two different effects depending on whether you tap it or hold it. Looking at her tap effect first, when you tap her skill, she blows a bubble and releases it, and it will bounce between nearby opponents, dealing hydro damage based on Sigewinne's max HP to opponents it hits, and when it bounces, it will restore HP to all nearby party members except Sigewinne herself, and the amount healed is based on Sigewinne's max HP, and along with this after bouncing 5 times, the bubble will finally disappear and restore HP to Sigewinne based on her max HP. Also, when no opponents are present, the bubble will just bounce nearby, and only one bubble created by Sigewinne may exist at once. Now looking at her hold variation, when held, she'll enter an aiming mode, and the bubble will be boosted to an even bigger size. It will grow bigger the longer the skill is held, until it grows up to 2 tiers in size. Each tier it grows increases its damage as well as healing by 5%. And when the bubble bounces, it will keep dropping down a tier in size until it returns to being a normal bubble. Also, after weaker opponents are hit by big bubbles, they will be imprisoned and will be unable to move. By weaker opponents, it means opponents who are physically weak, such as a Hilichurl or Samichurl, and not weak, as in low HP. In addition to these, 2 source water drops will be created near Sigewinne when she uses this skill. Each source water droplet Sigewinne collects will grant her a bond of life worth 10% of her max HP. The benefit of gaining this bond of life and clearing it is that, when Sigewinne's bond of life is cleared, she regains 1 elemental energy for every 2000 HP worth of bond of life that was cleared. Sigewinne can regain up to 5 elemental energy in this way. Now going to her burst, it is pretty simple. What it does is, she takes out a syringe and charges in front, dealing AoE hydro damage based on Sigewinne's max HP. In addition to these, Sigewinne can absorb up to 2 nearby source water drops within a certain range, right before using the skill. As for the burst cost, it's going to be 70 energy, which is quite high, and it'll have a cooldown of 18 seconds. Looking at her passives. In her first passive, Sigewinne grants herself something called the semi-strict bedrest effect for 18 seconds after using her skill. What it does is that Sigewinne gains an 8% hydro damage bonus and 10 stacks of convalescence. What these do is, when the elemental skills of your nearby off-field party members other than Sigewinne deal damage, consume 1 stack of convalescence, and increase the damage dealt by that instance of elemental skill damage. Every 1000 HP Sigewinne has above 30,000 increases the damage by 80, and the maximum damage increase for elemental skills that can be gained in this way is 2,800. So you gotta have at least 60,000 HP to max out this talent. In her second passive, when Sigewinne performs healing, the amount healed by her will be increased based on the total current value of the bond of life on all party members. For each 1000 HP worth of bond of life, the outgoing healing is increased by 3%. The amount of healing provided by Sigewinne can be increased by 30% in this way. So having a total bond of life worth 10,000 HP should be enough to max out this passive. Going to her third passive, it is very good, as while you're underwater and your active character's HP falls below 50%, Sigewinne will heal the active character for 50% of their HP over 2.5 seconds. But the catch is that all their elemental resistance and physical resistance will decrease by 10% for 10 seconds, and this effect can be triggered once every 20 seconds. This is pretty nice, as normally to heal underwater, you either have to find fishes or use food. Now, looking at her constellations. Her C1 will allow the bubble from her skill to bounce 3 extra times, which means it can now bounce up to 8 times rather than just 5 times. And along with that, the first 3 bounces will not cause the big bubbles to become smaller. In addition to this, her first passive talent is enhanced, so now every time the bubble bounces, it'll add 1 stack to her convalescent stack, and the values for the convalescent stacks' damage bonus will be increased as well. So now every 1000 max HP Sigewinne has above 30,000 increases the damage by 100 rather than 80. The maximum damage increase for elemental skills that can be gained in this way is 3,500. In her C2, when using her skill or her burst, Sigewinne can create a bubbly shield worth 30% of her max HP that absorbs hydro damage with 250% efficiency. Additionally, after her skill bubble or burst hits an opponent, that opponent's hydro resistance will decrease by 35% for 8 seconds. Her C3 will just increase the level of her skill by 3. Her C4 is pretty simple. It'll just increase the duration of her burst by 3 seconds. Normally, it has a duration of 2.5 seconds, but now it'll be 5.5 seconds. Her C5 will increase the level of her burst by 3. Now, finally coming to C6, this will allow you to use her as a DPS. What it does is, when she performs healing, she will increase the crit rate and crit damage of her burst based on her max HP. For every 1000 max HP she has, she will increase her crit rate by 0.4% and the crit damage by 2.2%. The maximum crit value you can increase this way is 20% crit rate and 110% crit damage. So to max this out every time you use her burst, you gotta have at least 50,000 HP on Sigewinne. And now moving towards her builds. Sigewinne's main build is that of a healer, because, well, she's a healer. But, if you do want to play with her as the main DPS, you can do that with higher constellations, C4 to be exact, and anywhere below C4, your best bet is to build her as a healer, because only after C4 does her damage start to really increase. Now, looking at her build, let's start with her Ascension first. At level 90, these are what her stats are going to be. As for her secondary stat, she gains HP percentage along with her Ascension. Moving on to her artifacts, the main stats you want to prioritize on artifacts are HP on Sands, HP on Goblet, and HP on Circlet. As for the substats on these artifacts, try to get HP, preferably energy recharge, and either crit rate or crit damage. Also, if you want to start building her as a main DPS, you can replace the HP on the Goblet with a hydro damage bonus and the HP on the Circlet with either crit rate or crit damage. Now taking a look at the suited artifact sets for her, know that the more HP you have on Sigewinne, the better it is, so generally we'd want to take artifacts that give lots of HP. So either you can use 2-piece Tenacity of Millilith and 2-piece Vorkash's Glow. Now, as both of them give 20% HP in 2 pieces, you now have a whopping 40% more HP. Or you could go with 2-piece of either Tenacity of Millilith or Vorkash's Glow and 2-piece of Emblem of Severed Fate. In this combo, Sigewinne gains 20% HP but gains a 20% energy recharge as well, which is something she needs since her burst cost is somewhat high. And finally, you could also go with a full healer build, using 2-piece Ocean-Hued Clam and 2-piece of either Maiden's Beloved or Songs of the Days Past. Since both of these 2 pieces provide a 15% healing bonus each, Sigewinne's heals are going to be a lot better. However, if instead of these you want to go for a 4-piece set for some reason, you can either go with 4-piece Ocean-Hued Clam or with 4-piece Songs of the Days Past. Just go with whichever set you have with better substats. Looking at her weapons, her best weapon is obviously going to be her signature weapon, called Pouring Heartstrings. This weapon is incredibly niche and only suited to her, but it is great for her due to how easily she can activate the weapon's effects. Taking a look at the weapon gives HP percentage as its substats. As for the weapon's passive, it increases the character's HP and increases the elemental burst's damage as well. Before going into details about this passive, this weapon works around a blessing mechanic, and the blessings can be gained by either using your elemental skill, giving 1 stack for 25 seconds, gaining a bond of life, giving 1 stack for 25 seconds, or performing healings, giving 1 stack for 20 seconds. So when the equipping character has 1, 2, or 3 stacks of blessings, their max HP increases by 12%, 24%, or 40% respectively. Also at 3 stacks, their elemental burst crit rate increases by 28% as well, and this effect stays around for 4 seconds after you have dropped down from 3 stacks. If you're pulling for her weapon above R1, here's the value at different refinement levels. As for alternative weapons for her, there aren't many options, but you can still go with the 3-star weapon called the Recurve Bow. And if you want some energy recharge on her, then there are options like Elegy for the End and Favonius Warbow. Now finally going to her team comps, know that due to her low hydro application, her focus is not on any reaction-focused teams. Her low elemental application also means that she can struggle to compete against someone like Sangonomiya Kokomi, starting with a Hyperbloom team. Your Electro character can be someone like Raiden Shogun, Fischl, or Yamiko, and for Dendro characters, you can either use Nahida or Kurara, but more preferably Nahida. And finally, for the other two, you can go with me and, of course, Sigewinne herself. In this team, off-field characters such as Fischl and Yamiko are great due to Sigewinne's buff to off-field elemental skill damage. Now moving to a mono-hydro team. You can start with Yelan or another hydro character, and for support, you can either use Kazuha or take Xingqiu if you don't have Kazuha, and finally go with me and Sigewinne herself for the rest too. Now that you know everything about her kit, personally, she's not that bad of a character, and if I had to sum her up in a single sentence, she's primarily a healer but can overtime and work as a DPS if it really comes to it. As for whether she's worth it or not, to be honest, she isn't bad at all, but looking from a solely meta perspective, she is neither a game-changing unit, nor super bad, she's just there. But honestly, it doesn't matter. If you like her, just pull for her.